Welcome back to the videos for Smaart Lab A4. Let's get the drive rack up and running. I know you've used the drive rack in class, but you may never have used it by yourself. The key is you need to have the laptop, one of the Nescom Live Sound PC laptops booted up, and of course you log into the computer, and of course get Wi-Fi to Smart Rack. That's very important. Once you do that, find on the desktop the Venue 360 software and boot it up. I'm running this at home here, this simulation. I'm on a Mac. I do not have a real processor near me, so I'm going to run it in virtual, but you'll see it here and you'll need to connect to it if you've got the Wi-Fi working correctly. So I'm going to do virtual. It's going to ask me which type you want to run in virtual. I don't think you're going to see this, so that's not an issue for you. And here we go. We've opened up and we have a preset here. I'm going to expand this to make this larger, make it a little easier to see on the screen. And this happens to be whatever preset I'm in. Eric is awesome, preset number 26, but we don't want that. We would like to load up a blank preset. This is key for you guys. And this little cheese grater over here, they call it cheese grater, cheeseburger, I don't know what they call it. Click on it. And over here are the presets you can load up, and you want to find yourself an empty preset. We're not going to be doing any saving or anything. We just need to start with a virtual preset, and I'm going to recall it. Are you sure you want to recall? Yes, I do. And click Wizard, and it's going to ask me if I want to configure. I don't really want to configure. There we go. We're good. We are in this empty preset. This is what I wanted you to do. Notice how we have a pink background here. We are in config mode. This is when we can make changes to our signal flow. If you hit apply, you will go out of config mode and it will ask you to save it. Now I'm not in config mode. To go back into config, go hit the green button to config. There you go. Let's go back to our instructions and make sure we do this correctly. So I have loaded a blank preset. And to take a moment, kind of look at this thing. What you have here for this processor is 3 inputs. On the back panel of them, you right now have your mix coming in one of them, right, from first output of the console. And you have 3 input channels, and these can be routed however you want to 6 output channels, okay? So input processing, output processing. We're going to be using very simple output processing in this lab. We're not even going to mess with the input processing at all. And let's configure our inputs. Let's make sure for input 1, upper left, we want to make sure we're sourced to analog. So we're going to be using input 1. So I'm going to click here on mix, and I'm going to make sure I'm sourcing from analog input 1. Now it says in 1. That's cool. And I want to make sure I do everything right here. Okay, we have 2 outputs to configure. This is going to be our main. It's going to be our sub. We need to source this first channel to input path A. So I'm going to hit this little button here, mix one, and we're going to source this thing from route A. This means it's going to be routed from A. There's lots of choices here, but this way, oops, I did it wrong. If you route from A, it will route to that entire input channel. So you could skip it and go right from analog inputs, but in this, I want to show you how to use that whole channel. So route A. So it's sourcing now this input, going through this channel of input is now going to this channel of output. And because our sub is also needed to be sourced from routing A, we're going to go through here and find routing A. So this is now set up both of these channels. Now, let's label them. Here's our outputs over here. And output 1 is going to be, and enter a unique name here, this is going to be our main. And that should be that, right? And this software is very quirky. And output 2, of course, is going to be our sub. And I'm pretty sure that's all I need to do. I should go back to the instructions. I'm going to hit apply and yes. I'm going to go back to my instructions, make sure I haven't skipped anything. And do note that there on the front panel, there are some mute buttons. And you have mute buttons for both input 1. That's going to matter because that's your input from the console, and you're going to have outputs 1 and 2, your main and sub, are both going to have to be unmuted. So at this point, if you've wired everything up, you should be able to bring up your channel in the console. Make sure your master fader is up on the console, your input's up, your master fader's up, and the drive rack, if it's unmuted, should pass audio on, so the console's feeding in input 1 and passing on to your main and sub via outputs 1 and 2. If not, time to troubleshoot, okay? I hope this helps. Bye-bye.